you're all very boring office workers, okay? A lot of the time we're just going to be shooting sort of documentary style-ish.
In a nutshell, what the film's been, it's been a progression from an idea that was almost exclusively improv, with a bunch of interesting mixtures of like Africa and science fiction.
The dialogue is very, very, if you could tell, the improvisation is wonderful, which in writing it was a little bit hard to imagine how that was going to work.
Are you on her when it goes off?
Yeah, I'm going to be on her when it goes off.
So when you swing the camera back around, your bolt's up.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like completely away.
Yeah.
And then you can totally. So do you put the so do you trip it and then battle to put the tray down?
I don't know. I mean, as the last one, I could mess on her. I mean, that would really. I wanted to mess stuff, but I'm so nervous of doing this.
Prior to knowing that I was making District 9, I would have thought, and I did think, that the first film I was going to do would be incredibly locked down and thought out and planned and methodically worked out. I think I'm going to do that for my second film.
Really talking to camera, so I'm just the intro. It's not take long.
Exactly. The only time you're talking is if you want to shout to guys off screen.
Yeah.
Because we wrote it in a way that provided a framework for the actors to improv in. Charlotte's amazing at improv. He is so funny and he's just so good, and he can do it completely different each time just without missing a beat.
I'm serious about that, man. That fucking thing it fucking took off. I swear to God, it was like a fucking container, like a bucket that they used to wash some fucking salvage or something in. That appealed to me, you know, I didn't and still don't have any sort of major acting aspirations, but I've always enjoyed doing characters and doing improv and always been able to do that. Yeah, just please, God damn it. If we could pick some of that shit up, you know, then it...
My blood, you know blood is thicker than water. You know that. Whether it's blood for chicken, a blood for a cow, or a blood for a person like you.
Yeah, no, I understand
just
it. I understand it. No, you don't. There's no...
The bottom line is I wanted it to feel as real as possible. Okay. I think improv has a reality about it. As long as the actors are delivering.
You are a joke.
I'm joking. Yeah. So prostitutes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Okay, dude, I think that's it. You run into trouble sometimes with scenes that need to be very structured. Like once you're out of the bizarre world and you're into drama, you can be walking on thin ice if you're not careful.
One of the really cool things we found out was, like, so many people would go in the same direction, and then just one or two would go left or right, which was quite cool. And then once that happened, then you knew you had someone that you could work with, improv-wise, which was quite cool.
What Neill's able to do is he's able to watch a situation just unfold, really. You know, it's really a fulfilling process artistically to sit in that sort of situation, because you have someone with a very particular ability to see things.
I'm watching for what I want to see and direction on what needs to be accomplished. As long as those beats are hit and things are feeling correct, then we keep going. And the moment they veer off, then it needs to be corrected. You're going to be whining and moaning.
Okay.
So remember, it's whining and moaning before he's here. Okay. And then once he's here, you try to toughen up a little bit.
Yeah.
The camera is total documentary camera, so you can be as aware of it as you want.
It's definitely a conscious thing on his part, you know. It's not that he can't storyboard the frame and tell you the monster's 2 millimeters away, turn, you know, which would be a normal visual effects movie.
Why don't we instead of this, why don't we make the sniper a merc?
Mm-hmm.
So we just use the other merc. What?
Yeah, no, that's right. So make sure it's done. Yeah.
It's really forced everybody on the team to up their game. As an actor, as a visual effects supervisor, you know, the guys have got to watch and the shots are coming together in the moment.
We also injected elements into it that would make it, you know, an engaging story, hopefully, and something that keeps people locked.
Straight into the heart.
Yeah, that's what I said! Fuck you!
Can I see him?
Not a good idea.
At first, I was scared, because you feel responsible, and then the natural human response is, don't do anything because it's the safest thing to do. Just sit here and your mind will freeze over.
You're clever. You see the laws coming down there now, eh? You want to use these weapons to...
Don't just stare at me as well.
Must I scream and react?
Don't smile at me as I break your arm. You've got the whole... Charlton would come and he'd be Vicus, and I'd just stare at him and be like, there'd be nothing in my mind. And that was the first couple of days after, perpetually tired, and then suddenly something flipped over and we started enjoying ourselves and just allowing ourselves not to be scared.
You just play the field of it, eh?
On my first day, I had a problem that I wasn't saying much. And then the second day happened again, it was another problem. But then I realized that the levels of the characters are quite different.
This is always the thing. Never, when the parent is around, don't go near the egg. It's just going to go ugly, you know?
I'm going to give him until next week.
Oh, Hannes van der Merwe, he got nailed, you know? He thought he was going to be clever.
In the back of my mind, I always say, just say something. But, it's hard to jab in something when Shalto is on an automatic running pace.
So guys, hang on. So Jay, I like that, but you just got into it without even knowing why he's here. You've got to extract more info first.
Okay, cool.
You don't know why he's here.
Cool, okay. Yeah.
So ask a few questions and then let it elevate.
What's an Innovacion? Now explain the shit to me.
When you try and force something that doesn't fit in, it sounds very pathetic and very tacky.
It's a very, very delicate balance, but the thing to remember that's important is that the story is set, and the points along the timeline of the story are set. What it does is it allows the actors to fluctuate within that timeline and to change their tone and to get into how they want to portray the character at that particular time.
The fact that you are set with a very rigid special effects department, you're set with a very rigid science fiction background and a very rigid idea as to what acting is about. And then you've got this freedom for a film actor of workshopping, number one, which Shalto, myself and Neill did quite a bit in pre-production.
They're lying. They keep drugging me. You can't remember, but
Sometimes it's terrifying because you feel this big plate of responsibility and you arrive in this beautiful set and you can just see that the art department has broken their back over the set and there's people exhausted, collapsed in the corners after having decorated all night. And you feel the responsibility of, okay, now, if I'm going to improvise in the scene, I'd better improvise very well. And then that obviously, they roll camera and you go,
It's stressful. I mean, it's a very stressful environment to work in because you're thinking on your feet the whole time. It's incredibly exhausting. You keep wondering if you're making the wrong choices. Are we leading people down the wrong road? Because you're making it up on the spot.
Neill could see a little spark of something in a performance and say, rather go with that, because that can work with my storyline. And then you develop an additional part of the storyline. So as far as killing him is concerned, there is a certain sort of, look at the way a real man does it, towards Vicus. I mean, that's in the back.
It is.
Normally your character is defined by the words he says and the situation he finds himself in. So there's a limited environment. Here we had an odd combination.
If you approach that kind of work in the right way, you will come up with better material. And if you're all focused in a similar way and you know what you're doing, you stand a better chance than if you're just going to be reading your lines.
Quibus is refined a little bit more. The interesting thing with his character is that his arc it's like the age-old sort of movie character who's in Vietnam as a soldier, and then by the end of the film you start realizing that they're actually like naturally a psychopath who has been given license to kind of like do what they really would default to want to do if they were left to their own devices.
I wasn't called onto sets early in the production that often. So finding a relationship with the director was very important. Knowing what he wanted was very important, and listening to the overview for me was a big importance.
He's also taken on quite a life of his own in terms of developing Quibus and making him be a character that has quite a lot of layers to him.
The problem with the pens is I would give him the pen, so that keeps making a problem.
It's vital, with Shalto. I mean, What he does is he goes from being an oppressor to being the oppressed, and it's that curve that we have to very, carefully plot. And that's what I'm keeping my eye on the whole time with the film.
It definitely was, I think, a process for everybody, and particularly obviously for him, but myself included, to work out what the characters were going to be.
I still know where I want him to get to and what he needs to do in order to get there, but he's doing it by hitting those points that I'm watching for and very much throwing Vicus into that at the same time. So two things are happening at the same time. Here, they're just going to give it to me here.
I say that.
Yeah, you say that, because you don't want to go to the med lab.
Doesn't he say get it done in the field?
So he may go off on a tangent which is wrong, and then it needs to be brought back in. Or he could go off on another tangent which is completely correct, and something that I totally did not ever conceive.
Did you see how fast that one was, Trent?
Yeah, he was fast.
Oh, this guy was fast, so I promise you.
One thing that is sort of a byproduct of the whole process that I am really proud of is the amount of emotion that comes through Vicus.
What is happening to my arm? Just breathe deep. What is happening to my arm, doctor? What is this all about?
Just breathe deep. Just calm down.
And, a mixture of the parameters that were written for him, because it was improv predominantly, but we wrote the parameters that he would operate inside of. I think that from a character level, his ability to draw you in and the framework that we placed him inside of created a surprisingly more elevated emotional experience, I think, than I was expecting. And I'm proud of that. I think that's another thing that I'm pretty proud of.